Thank you for joining us on Lightcast TV on Focus Beyond. We are privileged to have one of prominent individuals representing an organization that deals with matters education. So kindly state your name and the organization you represent and your the job that you do.
Thank you very much for hosting me at Lightcast TV. My name is Peter Auma. I'm a parent and currently I'm the National Chairman, Kenya Parents Association. This is an association that has been in existence for quite some time through an Act of Parliament, and it establishes the association from the school level, sub-county, county to national level. Since the exit of one Musa Ndunda, we have not had a vibrant parents association for quite some time. And as a parent and one who has kids studying under the CBC curriculum, into the 844 curriculum right now in Form 2, I decided to take it upon myself that it is good for the voice of the parent to be heard at the national level. Kenya Parents Association is the link between the parents and the institutions, and by extension, the Ministry of Education. So far, we've had so much to discuss about the education of our children, but Kenya Parents Association has been mute all this time. So I find myself duty bound and squarely responsible as a parent of the time to discuss matters that affect our children and teachers in our schools. That is why I, together with my other parents, we decided that we will represent the Kenya Parents Association at the national level and at grassroots. So for me, as we speak right now, I have started that journey of representing our parents at the national level on all matters that affect our school-going children and our institutions.
So the Kenya Parents Association that you are now the chairman, the fact that they became mute, did it begin before the KK regime or was it before, during the Uhuru's regime? The fact that the parents became mute about the education system and maybe policy direction on how children are supposed to have a quality education?
I wouldn't say that Kenya Parents Association became mute after the KK regime. Kenya Parents Association has been mute for quite some time. We can say Musa Ndunda was the last chairperson of Kenya Parents Association that represented the parents so well.
What year
at
was
all
that?
levels. That should be about 8-10 years ago.
Okay.
Since Musa Ndunda exited, Kenya Parents Association died. But I think what made Kenya Parents Association to be the way it is at the national level, it is the lack of funding for the association. The association is not funded by government. Neither is it funded by the schools. So those people who represent parents and parents association, maybe if you went there not because of maybe the passion or maybe because you feel like you want to represent parents, I think that is the main reason why Kenya Parents Association is mute. Again, another reason I think Kenya Parents Association is mute, it is because of the age of those people who represent the Kenya Parents Association right now. Some of these people we believe that they don't have children in school. Their children left school long ago. They are just people who want to represent us because they are elected as to their various stations. So for some of us who are parents today, with the children in school, we feel that it is better if we are represented by a person like me, who has a child in junior secondary, of course in grade 9, headed to grade 10, there are issues to discuss, who has another child in secondary school in Form 2, which is the last cohort for the 844 curriculum. So I think I'm better placed to represent the parents of this country and the issues that I want to discuss with government, to seek clarity from government, from the Ministry of Education. I think the issues that affect parents, that will affect me directly, myself, as an ordinary parent, a parent whose children attend ordinary public schools. I think I'm better placed. I believe I'm better placed to represent the parents of this country.
So what was the knee-deep challenge that caused you to take up the struggle to become the chairman of this Parents Association? What really caught your heart that you decided to become the champion?
Before we go on to the issues that I believe affect our schools and our parents, I want to say that there are so much has happened in this country between, let's say, as from 2018 there up to 2025. And we've been watching this space. For example, when there are demonstrations, I as a parent expect the Parents Association to give a statement on how parents and their children should behave when such a thing happens, like demonstrations. I expect the Parents Association to give an advisory to parents in collaboration with the ministry. For example, let's say, for example, those areas that are demonstration hotspots, for us not to put our children at crossroads when they are going or coming back from school. It is good for parents just to ask fellow parents to keep their children at home on such a day, so that when the police are dealing with the demonstrators in one way or the other, our children are not caught in the melee. You know, there are children who have been hit by stray bullets from school. Some have been tear gassed. Some have been even tear gassed in schools because demonstrators run into schools because they can hide anywhere. So you see, it is only better that on such a day, the Parents Association gives a statement and they ask parents from those areas, that parents of those areas deem as demonstration hotspots, not to allow their children to go to school. At least they can remain back home, so that we reduce the risk that is there for our children. And you see all these things happen. For example, now the most recent one is 25th June this year, 2025. There was a commemoration of last year's June 25th. I was expecting that the Parents Association talks to parents and reminded them that now that because there is a commemoration of last year's June 25th, those parents like in areas like Nairobi, areas like Nakuru, those areas that appear to be people who demonstrate, please keep your children at home. And also the same day was the day that that our learners in secondary schools would break for half term. I expected the parents to tell the association to tell parents to at least ask schools to release their children on Saturday, Sunday, or maybe a Monday. But there was a case where a secondary going child was hit by a stray bullet from school. So you see, the Kenya Parents Association has failed us, and we cannot allow it to fail us anymore. So I am taking over as the national chairman, so that I can be there for the parents. I can be there for the parents. And for the issues that you asked that I want to talk about, there are so many issues.
President Ruto established a task force to assess curriculum's implementation, structure, and relevant laws immediately when he came into power in the year 2022. According to the policy and strategy direction that has been implemented by his regime, are you satisfied so far with the rollout scheme that has happened to the CBE education?
As parents, we did not come in this country yesterday. During the campaigns, President Ruto promised that he will work on the CBC curriculum. In fact, there was talk of abolishing it altogether, because it is a burdensome curriculum to the parent. Because as a parent of CBC, there are responsibilities that are squared on the parent. For example, you have to do some homework with your child. You have to, your child has to ask for a few things to be taken to school, like eggs. There's eggs, there's chicken, there's flour, maybe maize flour, they might want to wheat flour, for them to do their practicals. So you find at times it is a burdensome curriculum to the parent and to the learner as well. So some parents thought that because it was said during campaigns that CBC will be abolished, it will indeed be abolished, but it wasn't. What happened after the working party of the president, they made a proposal, which to me as an ordinary parent, it was a good one, but to the learner, it actually gave them some mental problems. The Kenyan Kwanza government decided that the junior secondary will be domiciled in primary schools and not in secondary schools. And you know, this recommendation was done way after the grade 6 exams of the year 2022. That was the year. So when these kids were told to go back to primary schools for secondary school, to we parents who were expected to, in fact, classes were already built at secondary schools. Professor Magoha had actually made sure that classes were built. Even in secondary schools within our localities, classes were built. So the children knew they were going to secondary schools. But along the way, it was changed and they went to primary school. So to the parent, it was okay. To the child, it was a little bit of a problem because they had paid their friends in primary school farewell and they knew they were headed to the secondary school. So they were not expecting them to go back to primary school. But when they went back to primary, now to the parent, the uniform was changed according to the ministry. They said the junior secondary will don a different uniform from the primary. Teachers were brought in. Then they started again to build classrooms for the junior secondary. An exercise that is still going on. So to the parent, that was fair. To the child, now keeping this child to school, it was a little bit of a problem to the child. But that's one policy direction they took. Another intervention that this government has taken, which we feel that it is the right step, is taking the senior secondary into the current secondary schools. But as they go into the current secondary schools, there is one issue that we as parents must raise. You know, the teachers in our current secondary schools were trained to teach 844 curriculum.
True.
Not the CBC curriculum, not the competency-based curriculum. Actually, they were trained to teach the 844 curriculum.
Yes.
Now these teachers need to be trained for them to handle the grade 10 next year. Government has removed
the names, but the institutions have remained. They have removed the sub-county, the extra-county, and the national schools. But the schools remain, the names remain. Now, when our children go to grade 10, the teachers need to be trained. Teachers in secondary schools have not been trained. Training just started on Monday, the 21st of July, 2025. That training, to me as a parent, and to most parents, it is not a training for all teachers. It is a training for a section of teachers. Because this training started on Monday at 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. and it will continue. This training is virtual. It is online.
Yes.
Teachers, each secondary school has to give 3 teachers for the training. Those teachers have to be online between 5 and 7 for them to be trained. Now our question as parents, do we have internet connection all over the country? Definitely not. There are some places that internet connection is a big problem. How will you train those teachers? What I want is that if I come from Trans Nzoia, another person comes from Turkana, another parent is in Wajir, another parent is in Kilifi, another one is in Nairobi, another one is in Kisumu, another one is in Migori. All teachers should be trained in those secondary schools so that my child will have the same opportunity a child in Nairobi is having when they join senior secondary. Teachers have been trained. But what is going on right now? Some teachers will be trained, but some other areas teachers will totally not be trained if it's going to happen virtually and online. Our proposal as parents is that this training happens. It should be an in-person training, an in-house training. Teachers should be trained at sub-county level or even at county level. Let's have teachers from a certain county, 3 teachers from each secondary school, put them in a hall somewhere at the county level, train them for 1 or 2 weeks during this August holiday. Just train them so that all of them have a chance to be trained to be senior secondary teachers, so that we don't just train those parents who are within internet connection are the only ones being trained. We want every other teacher to be trained. Those are the issues that that's an issue, I think. And you know, the problem with the Ministry of Education right now is that the current cabinet secretary we are having is not communicating. The cabinet secretary for education, Honorable Migos Ogamba, has just kept quiet. He's not telling us anything about what is going on. No parent in an area where there's no internet connectivity, even a leader, let's say even MPs or even governors and senators, women reps from those areas, will not agree if they hear that the Ministry of Education is training teachers virtually to teach in the senior secondary school. They will not accept, because we want teachers to be trained, because what teachers in secondary school right now, they are teaching 844. Secondary schools right now are equipped to teach 844. What we want from the ministry, are they ready for grade 10? That's 1. 2, do they have the facilities necessary, requisite to teach grade 10? Do they have the human resource now, the teachers, to teach grade 10? Because according to me, books that are now in the shelves are secondary schools. Those books are obsolete as much as CBC is concerned. We have to re-equip the shelves at secondary schools. Maybe storybooks are made, but course books, those ones are obsolete. Is government ready? Because we are headed to exams for CBC. Grade 9 will be sitting for the exams somewhere in October. They are headed to senior schools. Are we ready? I think that those are some of the things that the government is doing that we feel that we as parents must have an input into them.
So that sounds like there is an issue to do with inclusivity and equity, because you'll find that most of the parents or most of the teachers who live in cosmopolitan areas like Nairobi, Eldoret, Mombasa might have access to online retooling of CBC education in order to be able to serve the kids better. And in places like Wajir and arid and semi-arid areas do not have Wi-Fi and other resources. So that means that there is resource gaps, which means there is inadequate funding in some counties. What are you doing as the chairman of the association? Have you reached out to these other counties that are arid and semi-arid places where there is no Wi-Fi, maybe resource, maybe you have gotten to share maybe the gaps that they're experiencing, and what are the interventions that they have proposed that you guys have come up with?
What I've done, I think I have had some phone conversations with my colleagues from those from some of those areas. Some I could not find them during working hours. I found them late in the evening because their stations, there is no internet, even the just normal normal connection to talk during the day. So some even don't know if it's going on. And for us as parents, ours is to point out such like issues and try and reach out to government. Myself, I've placed my appointment before the CS education. I went to his office and I placed my appointment at his office with the secretary. So I'm waiting for them to respond so that I can see what exactly the CS has for us as parents, because it appears maybe somebody is not being realistic with the reality that we have. You know, issues to do with education, we cannot gamble, because this is the future of the country. In fact, to me, I believe that education is one of the issues that can be discussed as issues of national security. Mm-hmm. If we have an educated mass, we are better off than having an uneducated public. An educated public is very difficult to deal with. Actually, it is better we have an educated public, even if people might not have the jobs or any other thing. But if they are educated, they can always find something to do. They can cut an inch for themselves. And you know, these matters of education, as we talk about training, there are so many issues to talk about. Mm-hmm. You know, as they train teachers to teach CBC, right now we have our children in junior secondary, grade 7, grade 8, and grade 9. And exams right now in this republic are paid for by government. Mm-hmm. And this is an intervention that came into place some time back, about 10 years now. Nobody has been paying for exams. Mm-hmm. I think over 10 years. Mm-hmm. Nobody has been paid for exams. Exams have been paid by government. All exams. Previously was class 8, then form 4. Right now we have 3 exams. For grade 6, grade 9, then form 4. Because we still have the 844 in form 2 right now. This year, during the budget making process, there was a discussion that they did not have money for exams, about 6 billion. What I want as the chair of the Kenya Parents before the Ministry of Education is to know if indeed there is no money for exams. If there isn't money for exams, then something is wrong somewhere. Even if it will call for an urgent supplementary budget for those resources to be allocated. Because the Education Act 2013, an act that actually talks to how schools and education should be managed in this country, in its very preamble, it says that a government should ensure free, quality, and compulsory basic education. Introduction of an exam levy to be paid by a parent is an impediment to free and compulsory basic education. Because basic education is primary and secondary. That is basic education. Mm-hmm. So if there is any problem, there's anything to do with exam levies, government should pay for exam levies, mm-hmm, so that we can achieve 100% basic education for our children. That's what I want to know. If there are no resources, we start this early so that next year we don't get into problems. Another issue to do with the CBC, government proposed and actually implements some money allocated aside for each learner in junior secondary.
That is capitation.
The capitation for each and every learner. Mm-hmm. That money is 15,000. What schools receive on average is 7,000. About 8,000 is held by the government under what they call the centralized system. In centralizing this money, they keep this money for textbooks. They keep this money for other issues. For example, there is a fee, 160 shillings, that the government gives to each and every learner in primary for games, sports and games. it's a capitation of 160 shillings. But what is received by schools is 50 shillings to run all the giving activities, from inter-schools to clusters to zones to sub-county to county level. The government keeps 110. The reason as to why government keeps 110 is we as parents want to know. Because games and sports in this country is a career. There are people who earn as footballers. There are those who earn as athletes. It's the whole thing. It is the whole thing. So we want to know, why is government keeping the largest chunk of money for co-curricular activities when co-curricular activities are mostly done by the schools? 50 shillings, schools end up, because now their children are participating in these games, to ask for money from parents to keep the games going. To keep the games going, they ask now money for parents, because they just have to keep the games going. If you have participated and you have been, or you have qualified for county games, let's say, for example, a county like now, Turkana. The county headquarters is in Lodwar. I don't know if you can imagine the distance from the border between West Pokot and Turkana and Lodwar town. Then another distance from Lokichogio to Lodwar town. Those people are traveling to come and participate in Lodwar town. So the school has to find other means of taking these children to participate at the county games. So we find that the money set aside for games and sports should all come to schools, even if they were to retain. Let them retain that 50 shillings. 100 should come to schools, so that schools at least can manage the games and the sports in their schools.
So about the issue of capitation. So according to reports, there's an ongoing delayed capitation of schools, which has crippled school operations. And we have day schools around the country. They depend a lot on this government capitation. So the funding shortfall limits their ability to offer the quality education that the government had said that it would offer. So have you gone, probably you have talked to so many parents and maybe stakeholders around the country to find that the problem is that this delayed capitation leads to, it makes it difficult for schools to operate, because schools need suppliers. Most of the school heads are now dodging the suppliers. They are in a constant hide and seek with the creditors. When they come to school, maybe they need to get paid. And maybe you have heard of schools that have been forced to lay off teachers employed by BOM, and then leading to higher student-teacher ratio, whereby there is a classroom that is supposed to have 20 to 25 has over 40 to 50 classrooms, case in point where we are right now. And then, like you have said, in sports, the co-curricular activities have been severely affected, whereby the government was supposed to give every student 160 shillings. Is it 160 or 150?
160.
It's 160. They're giving them 60 and denying student opportunities to develop their talents and skills outside the classroom. So as probably you have interacted with the stakeholders, with the parents. In your view, what do you think? Do you think it's good maybe to involve other stakeholders outside government, because you have kids who are depending on this education maybe to grow themselves mentally, physically, holistically, so as to ensure that by the time they grow, they get a quality education that actually suits them?
I think you have mentioned another issue that I think is good to talk about. You know, it is not, you've said that our day secondary schools depends heavily on capitation from the ministry run the activities. In fact, the capitation for day secondary schools, it is the entire amount that the school needs to run optimally. What parents are paying in day schools should not be there.
So you're saying parents are not supposed to pay anything?
According to me, the parents, day secondary schools, parents are supposed to pay nothing. Why am I saying so? In secondary schools, what parents pay is for boarding. It is not for tuition.
So
tuition money is paid by government, and that is why capitation for both day secondary schools and boarding secondary schools is flat rate, 22,000 and some 400 and something, about 22,420 for all the learners. The only issue that parents have with capitation is this. Capitation that exists today, 22,400 and something, was set 10 years ago. About 10 years ago. This money is a flat rate for day and secondary and boarding schools. In this country, if we are to achieve 100% basic education as the Act so provides, we must have absolutely zero school fees for day schools.
Do you think that is possible?
It is possible because the current capitation that we have, 22,000, schools receive about 15,000. They don't get the 22,000. And that money does not come on time. For example, as we speak right now, between first term and second term, schools are owed by government, by the Ministry of Education, by government, about 18 billion shillings. 18 billion shillings. Schools are owed by government. There is no way schools will operate optimally with such a gap. If you look at this capitation that was set 10 years ago, the right capitation right now as we speak should be between 35,000 and 40,000. If between 35,000 and 40,000 was set aside for capitation for our schools, day schools will be absolutely free. Will be free for parents. No parent will pay a single coin. And you know, we have an Education Act passed by Parliament, one that says basic education should be free and compulsory. As to who guarantees the compulsoriness in this free education is government. Introduction of any levy is an impediment to this free, compulsory, and quality basic education. The kind of capitation that is given to schools today is one that has caused a lot of problems, particularly for those who run schools, for the principals.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the biggest, the missing link in all this, the sound of is the voice of the parent. Now that I'm here, as the voice of the as a parent, and as the chair of the parents in Kenya, I'll make sure that the ministry and the government listens to parents, because an act can guarantee or can confer to us and our children free basic education, and it is compulsory. But those to guarantee or to make sure that it happens may actually decide not to implement just because the parent is not talking. But as we talk right now, I think after 10 years of setting 22,400 as capitation, it is high time this money is gradually increased to between 35 and 40,000 for us to have to better run, for principals and other school managers to better run our schools optimally. So to me, I think I was thinking that maybe I needed to move the High Court and seek the interpretation of the Education Act 2013 to see to it if it is indeed correct, if it is indeed lawful for a parent to pay for day secondary school. That's what I would want to know. If it is indeed true, and the amount of capitation that was set 10 years ago, is it right that we continue working with that amount and even reducing it further down? Like, for example, this second term, this is the term that principals have received the least amount of money. The least. Schools have never received 100% capitation for the last 10 years. They have been receiving some portions of that money, some portion of that money. But when the year turns, the following year, government does not take in consideration the balances thereof. They just start afresh and create another balance in that year. So I think the missing link in all this has been the voice of the parent. Now that we are here, we will make sure that schools receive 100% capitation. And this capitation must be increased. Ili mzazi asilipe chochote kwa day school. Mtoto aende shule free. Some day schools should be free. Some day schools are living up to 20,000, 15,000, 25,000 and day schools. Paka unashindwa hii day school tunalipa 25,000. What are we paying for day school? Day secondary school 25,000. You hear a politician tell you that this year we are only considering day school for bursary. Why are we considering day school for bursary and day school should be free? It means we have to ask government, why has it become a priority for even politicians who have bursary kitties to consider day schools and not boarding? Some boarding schools parents pay up to 100,000. And you know, in boarding schools, there is a consensus that parents only pay for boarding. For boarding and upkeep of their children in school. Why would you have a fee of 100,000?
So things like tuition, maybe stationery, they need to be provided by the school.
Tuition is paid by the government. We need a sit down with the ministry and other stakeholders and agree on a fee, maximum fee, to be charged by secondary schools. Maximum. Maximum fee to be charged. So that another school within the same locality is charging 100,000. The neighbor is charging 60,000. Another one is charging 75,000. Another one is charging 45,000. So you ask yourself, what is it? What is it that is so different between these schools? So it is, as parents, we want to agree with the government and school managers. What is the maximum fee a school can levy? Because we have other levies that are totally extravagant and unnecessary, that they have been introduced in schools. And the parents have told me in the interactions I've had, some are paying more money outside the receipt than what is in the receipt. So we have to agree which way this basic education, for it to be free, compulsory, and to be free to everybody, not free to some people and not to others. Education right now in this country is one of the most expensive.
Yeah.
If you ask any parent, will tell you the most money they are paying after food is school.
So I have a question, because currently we have parents who have their kids who have finished up to grade 6 and they can't afford to take their children to junior secondary school because of the fees and all that is required to ensure that they meet the standards. So how would you encourage such parents who have their kids in the house because of lack of school fees?
Yeah, to me, I don't think if a to me as a parent, I don't think if you should keep your child at home because you are unable to meet the requirements of your local junior secondary. Even if you cannot buy uniform, prescribe for that junior secondary, take your child to school. And no teacher is permitted in law or in fact to return your child at home.
Then that means that there are so many schools then that are breaking the law, because in junior secondary schools, if you do not meet the threshold of what is needed in that school in matters to do junior secondary school, if you don't have the uniform, the required textbooks, the stationery, the kit that is needed for games, you are returned home.
I don't that's why I'm saying the parents have missed on the stage for quite long.
Yeah.
As the chairperson of the Kenya Parents Association, I'll even give my number. If any school, any junior school, declines to take your child in because of lack of anything, in any case, textbooks, the national government is holding money for books for junior secondary.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, what that child would need is to avail themselves at that junior secondary school, and they are taken in because it is their right. You know, education in this country is not a privilege.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a choice you make. It is compulsory. You have to be in school. There is no way you can tell me that a certain junior secondary center has refused to take in a child.
There are so many.
That will be that one will be very difficult. That one will be very difficult for me to understand, because it is not that I have not seen such like issues. I have seen them, but we've solved them as parents, because we just remind the schools that this is the reason why you exist, to provide education to this child. This child comes from this locality. This is the public junior secondary school available for them. So we cannot imagine another school. And that is why the government did establish that school within that locality to provide education to such like these children. There's no way you can tell me that now, even if they don't have books, just have to be in class. They just have to be in class and learn. No, there are those parents, quite a number of them, let me say learners. There are some of them are actually just living. Some even live on their own. Mm-hmm. They might not be even able to get exercise books. Mm-hmm. And even a pen to write. Mm-hmm. But keep them in school.
So I think there is an issue of knowledge gap that you're trying to address. Maybe what are some of the interventions, maybe as now the champion of the Kenya Parents Association, because there are many parents around this country who don't have the knowledge that you have as a parent in how to ensure that your child has quality education through the CBE curriculum. How are you going to address that?
The quality of the education of the CBC curriculum must be available, because this is the curriculum within which our children are studying. And I strongly believe that that leader who sits maybe in parliament or senate, or maybe is serving in national government, they are better placed to make sure that the CBC curriculum works. But as they are better placed to make sure that it works, I don't know. I don't know if they experience this, the CBC firsthand. I don't know if their children are studying under the CBC curriculum. Maybe their children are studying some foreign curriculum. Mm-hmm. They don't know what's going on in the CBC.
Yeah.
With the CBC curriculum right now, it is true that most parents don't understand this curriculum. Mm-hmm. And by pronouncements of politicians, some politicians have taken to podiums and actually told us that it's neither government, it is neither the parent, it is neither the learner, it's neither the teacher that understands CBC. For us as parents, we don't take that as a fact. We want to take it before the Minister of Education and ask them, do they really understand what is going on in CBC? For example, my own example, I have a child in grade 9. In June, I was asked by my child that I help select schools that they will join in grade 10. How many schools? 12 schools. Then I did select. I did some research here and there. So I was thinking, that parent who cannot do research, what do they do? And then there's some people online who are talking about CBC, not even from the ministry. And I selected the 12 schools. Early July, the child told me, no, they have changed. They now want to select subjects. I said, not schools and no schools. And the should ask Apana. Apana said, subjects. I went to the school, asked, what is it? I said, no, we were selecting schools, but we think we now need to select subjects. Okay. We selected subjects. End of July, mid-July, the child comes back again. Now they have said, we choose pathways. Now, who is communicating to the school as to pathway, subject, and the school to be chosen by parents? Is it the ministry? If it is the ministry, then all of us are confused. We don't know what we are doing. And as we progress into the senior secondary, the ministry is not saying anything. They are just quiet. They are not telling us how prepared they are. They are not telling us why is a child in grade 9 choosing 12 schools for a chance to join one. Why are we choosing 12 for a chance to join one? 12 schools are too much for me. They are too much. Why don't we choose about 6 or 5 schools? Why are we having 12 choices from which to have a chance to have one? Then another issue to do the CBC. The government is not telling us how this transition is going to happen.
Exactly, that's what I wanted to ask.
How this transition is going to happen.
So you think the smooth transition between junior to senior secondary has not yet been achieved?
It will be difficult to achieve because, let me tell you, some schools don't offer some pathways. But those are the schools that take in a large number of learners, the day schools. What we used to call the sub-county schools. Those are now the cluster 4 schools.
Okay.
The cluster 4 schools, which are sub-county schools, the day schools that we are used to, the schools in our villages, they don't offer most of these pathways. So it means that those people who can afford boarding, which is out of reach of most parents right now as we speak, they are the ones who will have their children studying something that is at least studying a pathway that can at least guarantee them something in life.
True.
But not that child of an ordinary parent like myself who wants their children to go to a nearby day school where they can afford. You see? So the transition from junior secondary to senior secondary is what we want government to address. Are our day schools able to take in learners who will study a STEM? STEM, that is mathematics, that is science, mathematics, and technology. Do we have those schools? Do we have such a pathways at our schools, at the day schools? Because my child excelling in grade 9 doesn't guarantee them a chance to join a boarding school and another one of any other parent. You know what at times we do is that your child has excelled, yes, but you cannot afford fees for that boarding school. You take your child to the nearest day school, knowing that all schools offer the same education, have teachers, and offer the same curriculum. But now in CBC, it is a little bit different. Not all schools are teaching the same thing. There are some schools that offer all the pathways. But there are those that offer only one pathway. If day schools will be reduced to offering things like metal work, electrical work, even
tailoring,
small things that they offer, they'll have disadvantaged the child of the ordinary Kenyan parent. That is the kind of conversation I want to have with the ministry. Do they really know that our schools that take in the largest number of learners, which are day schools, are not ready to offer STEM? STEM is one pathway that takes your child to engineering, takes your child to medicine, takes your child to be a pilot, takes your child to all these top careers. The arts and sports can take your child maybe to these others, like maybe your child can be a teacher, which is not bad. Your child cannot be a doctor in the arts, sports and
true.
They cannot. So you find that STEM will be offered mostly by the former extra-county schools and national schools. Schools whose school fees most Kenyan parents cannot be able to pay. So the transition from junior to senior secondary, we must discuss it with the government before January. January.
So it's a critical issue. I wanted also to add issue to do with digital transformation and technology. Do you think the government is working towards ensuring that schools, the junior secondary schools, are well equipped to ensure that the young learners are digitally equipped? Because we are living in a digital ecosystem, and that one cannot be ignored. Do you think that is an issue that as a parent you also need to address the government?
As a parent with the child studying under the CBC curriculum, I can tell you that every other day, my child must have my phone. And my phone must have data for them to do homework. There is that homework that they must search online. I'm trying to imagine places where there is no internet.
True.
I don't know how those kids do their homework. I don't know how they do it. Leave alone to say that the ICT part of it. In junior secondary schools, we are supposed to have laboratories to learn. I can tell you 99% of all junior secondary schools don't have a lab. Including a school where my child goes, there is no lab. We are expected to go to the nearest secondary school for lab services. We are expected to go to the nearest secondary school.
And as a parent, are you charged by the school the money for digital curriculum? Is there money that you are paying in the fee?
No. For junior secondary, to say the truth is that anything that's paid in the junior secondary, mostly is the lunch program.
Okay.
It's the lunch program that parents agree to pay because some of them want to make their children feel they are in secondary school.
Okay.
So for them to go to school and come back for lunch at home, they find it a little bit of a problem. So they contribute some money for the lunch program and they pay the cook and they make sure there's food for their children.
Okay.
But I'm telling you, for internet, our children must use their phones in the evening to do their homework, which means a parent with a child in junior secondary, particularly grade 9 and 8, you must at one point or the other have bundles. And if you don't have a smartphone, you must just acquire one for them to be able to do homework. That's why I'm telling you, the CBC curriculum, it is not like the 844 curriculum, where every other child would have the same opportunity as the other. The difference would be just facilities. But all of them will be studying the same thing. In CBC, there are those children who are more advantaged than the others, particularly those who can access internet. they are more advantaged than the others.
So talk to us about Edu Afya program. Since Duale had cited fraud and double payments as reason to discontinue the Edu Afya program.
Yeah, the Edu Afya program was introduced into schools to break the gap. To break the gap between those learners in day school and those in boarding schools in as far as access to health was concerned. Now, as we speak, there is no Edu Afya. When Edu Afya was in operation, when your child would fall sick in a school, they will be taken to hospital. When they are taken to hospital, they are treated. Then maybe you are informed as a parent if the situation is worse. But if it's just normal malaria, these normal ailments, they will treat the child and the child will continue being in school and take medication. But with the exit of Edu Afya, right now, when your child gets sick in school, my son is in high school. When he gets sick, he's always sent back to me to take them to hospital. For me, the school is closer there. Let's say a parent whose child is in Mombasa, at a secondary school in Mombasa, and for them, they are somewhere in Bungoma. So sending the child back to the parent to be treated, that will take like a whole week or two out of class. What if we had an insurance cover for children in school, for them not to be sent home to be treated? After the removal of Edu Afya, government says that Edu Afya is now under SHA, that a parent who pays for SHA covers their children. I don't want to go into politics of saying that SHA is not working. That is not in my place as a parent. My concern with the SHA is only one. That right now for SHA, and this general consensus, nobody can deny it. Nobody can deny that right now for SHA to cover you, you must have paid 1 year subscription. From the time you need that service, regardless of what you've been paying before. When you need that service this July, pay up next year, July, for you to get the services of SHA. How many parents are able to pay a 1 year subscription for SHA when their children is suffering from malaria in a school there? How many parents, how many learners in school don't have parents? They're just under guardians, they're under relatives in school, and they're not covered under SHA. That means such like children will not be treated. Edu Afya came to cover every other child in school. They will be treated under the Edu Afya program. We as parents, what we demand is that Edu Afya be returned back to schools so that our children can be treated, so that they don't just stay on painkillers. We've had instances where children have died in schools. To us as parents, we think it is because of the absence of an insurance cover for our children in schools. That means learners have just to cope with painkillers, what they can afford. Akisikia kichwa imemuuma, buy a painkiller, take it, it relieves you, then you are okay to go. So they are not treated. So we want Edu Afya back. As parents, we want Edu Afya back to treat our children. And when you talk about Edu Afya, things to do with the health, there's another issue about our girls in school. Some years back, let's say like 6 years ago, there was a program to distribute sanitary pads into our schools for girls. The schools have gone to, the parents have interacted with, and the teachers have interacted with. sanitary pads is a very, very big issue in schools. Children without them, those who are day scholars, they don't go to school. And some of those who are boarders, they choose just to sleep in the dormitory. Because some of these children are from poor backgrounds. They are there thanks to a sponsorship, a certain scholarship. So they cannot afford a sanitary pad. So that means that these children are not participating or learning in a manner that they're supposed to due to lack of the sanitary pads.
Yeah.
And I have tried to make an appointment with the Kenya Women Parliamentarians, Kawapa. I want to talk to Kawapa because they are ladies like these children in school. I want to hear what Kawapa is saying. Because I think Kawapa should be one of the parliamentary groups that should be championing for such like issues. Because the issue of sanitary pads, the stigma that is in school for them, those who don't have them, is just quite big. And it does not choose which school. I've gone to some schools where are national schools. Some national schools, teachers will tell you, this one is a problem. We are having a problem here. Our children don't have sanitary pads. So I wanted to see if government can allocate resources for sanitary pads. You know, all of them, it is not that we are allocating resources for all children in school to use those sanitary pads. Some parents can buy.
Yes.
But for those who can't, because the teachers can see whom to help and whom not to help. They know their learners. They know them.
They know.
If, let's say, if we have like 3 million learners in schools, and you provide for about 1 million, that will be better. Yeah. That will at least reduce the gap, so that you can choose those that cannot afford, and those who can afford can still afford. You see, that's another issue that I think the Kenya Women Parliamentarians, I want to talk to them. I have an appointment with them. The day that they will have time that we meet, I want to know from them, what are they saying about this sanitary pads issue? Do they find it a problem? Is it a priority or is it not a priority? To me, it's a priority. To me, it's a priority, and it should be looked into.
So, probably maybe you could share your final thoughts and your major appeal to the government on addressing the gaps and interventions on matters to do with challenges of CBE. Final thoughts.
For me, I think now as a parent, for the CBC curriculum, we are not saying that's a bad curriculum. It's a good one. Our only problem is equal access to CBC by all learners. It's equal access. That's all we want. Another thing that I would want government to do is to increase capitation from the current 22,000 secondary schools to between 35 and 40,000, so that schools can operate optimally. Because this capitation was set 10 years ago, it is overtaken by events, and we cannot sit back, fold our hands as this issue eats into education system. We must have it resolved. Another issue that I believe is pertinent, the ministry needs to talk to parents regularly about their programs and what they are doing with their children in schools. The other issue is that as the chair of the Parents Association, I am not here to antagonize government. I'm not here to be unreasonable. I want to talk to government, to talk with the government, to see what can be done to help our children in school have a better future, a better education that can make them competitive, not only in this country, but globally. The other thing that I think a government needs to do, government needs to realize that it is the sole entity that should provide education to our children. No any other. We don't have another one. And for us as parents, we work with the government of the day. The Kenya Kwanza government that is in place today, it is the government to deliver to our children. It is the government to make sure that transition between junior secondary and senior secondary is smooth, transparent, and equal to all parents. Not that there are those children who will learn in schools that their fate is sealed. They can't be doctors, they can't be engineers, they can't be lawyers, they can't be teachers, they can't be anything. We know people who have gone to day schools, and today they are lawyers, today they are doctors, today they are engineers, because that education, that curriculum, the 844 curriculum, offered the same level of education at all levels and in all schools. Now that CBC will be segregated, that there are some schools that will not offer some pathways. What is government doing to make sure that that child going to a day school and that child going to a boarding school, they are all having the same opportunity to the same education? That's all we want.
Thank you so much, Mr. Peter Ouma, the chairman of Kenya Parents Association. Maybe you could share your social media handles and your contacts on how people can reach you in matters to do with education, and maybe if they had questions on how to come together and just have a talk and give sensitization to the parents on how to move forward. If you have any social media handles, please share.
I just have a Facebook page and a Facebook account. My Facebook account is Peter Ouma. It's Peter Ouma. If you search, you find Peter Ouma. Facebook page is Peter Ouma, Socio-Political Commentator. Is my Facebook page.
Thank you so much.
Maybe my contacts. Maybe my contacts. You know, I would like to give my contacts because we are having issues to do with the parents.
Correct.
Like now, those schools that have denied are not taking in junior secondary school kids.
Exactly.
Because of lack of a few things here.
Yes, yes, that's an issue.
And maybe other issues. You know, some other schools have introduced very exorbitant fees.
Exactly.
To parents, just a day school, you are paying 30,000,
correct,
40,000.
Correct.
You know, you have to talk about such like issues.
Yes.
You know, as a parent, if you go there as an individual, they will victimize you.
Mm-hmm.
They will victimize your child.
Mm-hmm.
They will see like you are anti their programs. My number is 0729 005567. You call me, send me an SMS, send me a WhatsApp message, support me in this course, because right now I'm self-supporting myself.
Yes.
Support me in this course. We see where we reach, so that we can raise these issues to the doorstep of government. And you know, for us to be heard, this voice must be louder, and loud enough and consistent, so that government can see that there is a problem that parents have in as far as their children in school are concerned.
Thank you so much, Chairman of Kenya Parents Network or Association, Peter Ouma. The contacts are on the screen. They are being displayed. And for those of you who've been watching Lightcast TV, please subscribe on YouTube, subscribe and follow us on Facebook on Lightcast TV, on YouTube Lightcast TV, and also we are on TikTok. We'll be sharing some of the things that the chairman of Kenya Parents Network has actually shared with us. Keep on watching Lightcast TV. My name is Ninja Lawor Kolek. Have a good one.